What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and more Blood Red Skies coverage here. So we're continuing on in our scenario review series here, moving to scenario 9, The Way Home. So we've seen a lot of escort missions, attack missions, things like that, and then this one kind of follows that logical progression here. Well, all right, you survived heading to the enemy target. You maybe even successfully bombed, but you still have to make it back home safe, and this is kind of what the scenario is really getting at here. So again, you have interceptors and escorts. So the player with the largest number of planes is going to be the intercepting player, and then if points or numbers of planes are equal, each player will roll a dice for initiative. The low roller is the one intercepting and has the option to use numbers and or home advantage theater cards, which again can really give them a serious advantage there, pun intended, but also just, that's a great way of sort of modifying the difficulty level of the scenario for the other player as well. So if you're up for a little bit more of a challenge, the more you give the intercepting player, the harder it's going to be for the other player. So elements here, the player with the largest number of planes is going to be the intercepting player again, if numbers are equal. We've seen that up above, so really they probably could have cut that out. No need to repeat that there. The escorting player deploys in 2 or more elements with at least 2 aircraft assigned to each element, and in each element must comprise entirely planes of the same squadron. So again, standard stuff here. The escorting player is assigned 1 extra element of bombers per 2 elements of escorts deployed, and again here we have that familiar up to a little bit different numbers though, so fewer, just assuming I think maybe some got shot down over the target, but up to 3 single engine bombers, up to 2 twin engine, and up to 1 tri or 4. And again, if you don't have access to some of the heavier things yet, just because a Warlord hasn't made the models yet, at least at the time of the video, you can certainly work on reasonable facsimiles there, and there's plenty of other places online that I think make these in scale, or if you have access to the right 3D files at a 3D printer, you can certainly go there, but there's options for getting the actual models, or in the meantime like cutouts as well. Each bomber element forms a squadron in its own right. Use markers for bombers if none are available, for models that is. If 2 twin engine or a single 4 engine bomber are being used, they begin with 1 boom chit already applied as damage, so it makes sense, like even like an engine out or something like that. And then the intercepting player deploys in 2 or more elements with at least 2 aircraft assigned to each element. Each element must entirely, again, be planes of the same squadron. So then into deployment. Bomber elements. So the escorting player begins by deploying their bomber elements within 6 of the table center. Designate 1 table edge as home, and then all bombers are deployed facing towards the home table edge. And then escorting player elements. 1 escorting element is deployed within 6 of the home table edge, and then if the escorting element consists entirely of multi-engine craft, jets, or planes with the deep pockets trait, that element may be deployed anywhere on the table instead, which is pretty cool. The remaining escort elements deploy as high cover markers on the home table edge, and again, you can vary things there too, again, just to modify sort of the way that scenario plays out in difficulty levels and things like that, depending on the types of planes used, and so again, forces involved, time of the war, and so on and so forth. So then moving on, the intercepting player elements, though, then deploys 1 of his elements more than 19 from any bombers. His remaining elements are deployed as high cover markers along any of the 3 table edges not selected as home by the escorting player. And then starting advantage level, so the bombers are going to start as disadvantaged. But then for the escorting and intercepting planes, the standard D6 roll to determine what's what there. And then plenty of special rules here. So again, the bombers, so squadron morale rules don't apply to the bombers as they're already trying to get home. Bombers may not select pilot actions when they activate, so like outmaneuver, shoot, or climb for advantage. So this in effect limits them to moving their speed and making a single 45-degree turn. Bomber turrets function normally, however, and may shoot at a target within arc and range of the aircraft's move. So that being said, and depending on what the intercepting forces are coming in, how they're coming in and all that, again, certainly trying to get to your home edge as fast as possible is probably going to be the smartest move there. When a multi-engine bomber activates, the escorting player can elect for its crew to bail out and save themselves. If the aircraft has already taken damage, again, we'll see the victory points in a bit here. If the crew bail out, remove the bomber from play immediately. So And then leaving the battle area in this mission. So bombers that exit the table leave the scenario altogether. If an escort or interceptor leaves the table, it re-enters play when it passes a maneuver test, or if it does, and then redeploy the returning plane anywhere along the edge at left, and re-rolling for its starting advantage level. But again, if it fails, like in previous scenarios, it gets a boom chit and returns to base, and it's basically gone for the rest of the game. So the way this scenario then works game-wise, so basically until the last bomber exits the table, bails out, or is shot down. So there will definitely be an end to that at some point or another. Each bomber then is worth the following. So single is 1, 2, and 4 for the twin, tri, or quad ones there. If the bomber survives the scenario and exits the table, the VPs are awarded to the escorting player. But if the bomber was shot down, then it goes to the intercepting player. Makes sense. If a bomber bails out, it does count as shot down by the intercepting player, but the escorting player gains a victory point there. So, that being said, might be in some cases worth basically bailing out to deny the opponent extra victory points for actually downing one. So depending on what you're going for there, so doesn't really make sense one way or the other with the single engine, but with the bigger engine ones, that might be an option there. In addition, both players score bonuses for destroying opposing flights, or fighters, I should say. So each opposing fighter is 1, but then each squadron driven off is also 2. So the main focus really, again, should still be on trying to deal with the bombers. But, if you're behind, you can certainly start dropping down the opposing fighters. And, if you're the intercepting player, certainly that will make your job easier potentially in dealing with the bombers. But, the bomber, everything's going to be in motion, so the bombers are heading for home, hopefully as fast as possible. So you do have a clock there, so you kind of have to focus on that. And certainly once they're all off the table, the game's going to be over anyway. So, but you also have to then deal with the escorting player or the escorting planes too. So at some point along the way, ideally driving them away, or getting lucky and dropping a few of those will certainly make dealing with the bombers a little bit easier. But the escorting player is going to do their best to keep you away from them as well, or put you in a bad spot where the bombers' defensive fire maybe is getting some lucky shots on you as well. And naturally, the player with the greatest total victory points is the winner. So another fun scenario, and again, just kind of following this theme here, where we've seen all these escort and bombing missions over the last several scenarios that we reviewed, and now kind of the final logical conclusion of that, which is for the people doing the bombing, trying to make it home. Then, so you got to deal with the enemy flak and interceptors on the way in, and then somehow successfully still make the bombing attack, and then still survive the journey home. So great little theme here all along for these missions with what Warwood's come up with here for Blood Red Skies. And again, just another fun one to play with multiple different forces, mid, late, early war, different nations, different combinations, and even some of the variations of the cards. Again, if you choose to bring in home advantage or not, that can really make a difference in how this plays out, and numbers and things like that. So again, just lots and lots of variables here to really keep these missions fresh. So worth playing multiple times and swapping roles with the opponent as well. And again, sort of a suggested force there as well. And really just making full use of what the game can offer. So just again, great fun all around, and well worth trying. So let us know in the comments, guys, what your experience has been with this scenario so far. Be happy to hear from you. Hit us up with that like and subscribe as well if you haven't already. And also, if you do want to support the channel a little bit more, check out the link in the description there. Head over to Warlord. Anything you guys pick up there will help support the channel. We really do appreciate that. So thanks so much for stopping in, guys. We'll see you in the next one.